The mark of a barbarian. The stars above, as their prime, shimmered like polished teeth in a predator's grin. Planet of gold-plated spires, floating palaces, and arrogant tradition. It was the heart of the Galactic Empire, and humanity had just been invited inside for the first time. Ambassador Sarah Miles stepped from the shuttle ramp, her stride unhurried, her gaze cool and calculated. She wore no armor, no entourage, only a flowing white diplomatic robe cut just above her forearms, exposing the bold, dark tattoo spiraling up her right arm. It twisted like smoke and storm, jagged lines in ancient formation, unapologetically visible. The crowd of alien dignitaries fell silent as she entered the throne hall. The imperial court was a sea of scales, carapaces, and bioluminescent robes. Every species with a seat at the imperial table had sent a representative. Tall, cruel-looking beings, draped in colors representing colonies conquered and civilizations subdued. At the center sat High Prefect Thalvaron, a serpentine figure of the Saraxi Dominion, known for his disdain toward upstart species, especially humans. Thalvaron's voice slithered across the hall. "Our guest arrives underarmed, underdressed, and underdecorated, I see. Unless that smear on her arm is meant to impress." A murmur of laughter rippled through the hall. Sarah didn't flinch. She stood alone at the speaker's dais, back straight, eyes forward. "It's not for you," she said simply, her voice amplified by the hall's translator's fears. Thalvaron rose, folding his many hands behind his back as he approached her. Humans tattoo themselves like feral brutes, skin scrawling as a rite of barbarism. But perhaps I judged too harshly. He leaned closer. "Tell me, Ambassador, does your primitive scribble have a name?" Sarah tilted her head slightly, unbothered. "It does. But your tongue would break trying to pronounce it. So let's call it what you will. A mark. A warning." The room stiffened. Even among the stiff ceremonial customs of the court, Sarah's tone was sharp, deliberately so. Thalvaron recoiled slightly, then laughed. How quaint. The monkey bears teeth. The Empire's diplomatic court had always been theater, ritualized dominance, displays of etiquette laced with menace. Sarah knew the game, knew the rules, but she wasn't here to play. Behind her, standing silently in the shadows, Commander Juno Reyes watched. To most, he was simply her attaché, but his stance was too balanced, his eyes too sharp. Former Special Forces, he'd once single-handedly extracted an outpost from a Krillian death zone. Now, his only task was keeping Sarah alive. Hours later, in the lower chambers of the Imperial Guest Wing, Sarah sat alone at a small table, sipping mineral tea from a crystal vessel. The palace glowed around her, artificial moons casting violet light through the skyglass. "I don't like how he looked at you," Reyes said, stepping in from the corridor. Sarah gave a soft exhale. "He looked at me like I was prey. He's used to prey." Juno sat across from her, leaning forward. "You gave them the bait. I gave them the invitation." She held up her arm, the tattoo visible in the low light. The design twisted with hidden geometry, more than just art. Beneath the ink were subdermal data nodes, encrypted war sigils keyed to her DNA. "Do you think he recognized it?" Reyes asked. "No," she said, "but someone will. Eventually." Reyes folded his arms. "They're not afraid yet. They will be." The next day's summit was more hostile. Several minor species ambassadors questioned humanity's fitness for sovereignty. Some suggested Earth submit a fealty proposal. Others claimed humans were genetically inferior, emotionally unstable, tribal, violent. Sarah let them speak. She never interrupted. Then Thalvaron took the floor again. "The Empire has been patient. Earth has sent poets and pirates, but no proper diplomats. Until now. Yet even now, you arrive bearing not peace, but pride. Your mark mocks our customs. You claim diplomacy, but I smell defiance." He walked in slow circles around her. The court fell silent. "You should kneel, Ambassador. You should kneel before history and strength." A long pause. The court leaned forward, anticipating a fall. A capitulation. A plea. Sarah looked up, her voice calm. "The Empire fears what it does not understand. I bear a mark you call barbaric. Let me offer context. She turned her arm slightly, letting the light catch the ink. The shape shifted subtly, the shadows within the tattoo forming the silhouette of a broken imperial crest. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Old ambassadors stirred in their seats. This mark, she said, was earned, not given. It is a record, a key, a legacy. It speaks in a language older than this court, carved in action, not bureaucracy. Thalvaron snarled. You dare threaten us with ink and riddles? No, she said, now smiling. I threaten you with memory. That night, she received a message from Earth. No voice, no image, just a pulse of code that bloomed across her private display. Phase 2 is green. Proceed. She stared at the message for a long moment, then rolled down her sleeve. Juno, she said, standing, get me a secure channel. We're done waiting. In orbit above Aster Prime, 12 human stealth vessels shifted in silence. They'd been there for weeks, cloaked in the shadow of the system's asteroid field. Listening, mapping, waiting. Now they moved. Back on the surface, in the Empire's most sacred hall, Thalvaron stood at the apex of the dais, his tone smug and final. Earth has spoken long enough. You will submit or be dismissed from this council. Sarah rose from her place. Her robe fell away as she stepped forward, revealing the full extent of her tattoo, now glowing faintly with activated filaments. It curled up her shoulder and along her collarbone like a crown of thorns. Gasps and hisses filled the room. The mark had changed. They recognized it now. A forgotten symbol. The mark of the Scourge of Titanus. A Black Ops event the Empire had covered up. A massacre of their own elite forces by a human unit that wasn't supposed to exist. The court descended into chaos. Impossible. Those warriors were purged. That symbol is banned. She should be dead. Sarah raised a hand, and the hall fell still. You mocked what you didn't understand. You called us feral. Call me a barbarian. But I carry history burned into my skin. A message for anyone who dares mistake humanity's silence for weakness. The question now, she added, stepping forward, isn't whether we belong at this table. It's whether you still deserve to sit at it. The throne hall doors closed behind her with a deep, echoing finality. The bearer of the sigil. The throne hall of the Galactic Empire had never been silent. Not in centuries. But now, silence weighed like a gravity field. Every ambassador, noble, and viceroy stared at the human woman who stood alone beneath the stained glass seal of the Empire, her inked skin faintly pulsing with blue light. The tattoo? No, the sigil was alive. Ambassador Sarah Miles let them stare. She had offered no weapon, no army, only truth, an ugly one they had tried to erase. And now, it burned on her skin. High Prefect Thalvaron's voice cracked the tension. That mark is forbidden. The Treaty of Sildras banned it after the Titanus massacre. It cannot exist. His pupils shrank. He remembered Titanus, 5, or at least the classified fragments he was allowed to see. An experimental human colony, a quiet rebellion, an imperial containment action that ended in utter, humiliating defeat. They had sent in elite death squads. None came back. And now, one of the survivors stood in his throne hall. You're lying, he hissed. You can't be one of them. Sarah said nothing. She simply raised her arm and placed 2 fingers on the center of the tattoo. The lights dimmed. Her heartbeat synced to a buried frequency, broadcast straight to orbit. A silent confirmation code. Above Aster Prime, the stealth fleet stirred. 12 human black ships emerged from dark space, shimmering into visibility like ghosts peeling from shadows. Not battleships, signal platforms, loaded with thousands of satellites, decoys, and data drones. One by one, they deployed into the upper orbit. They didn't fire. They broadcast. Within seconds, every screen, beacon, and comm node across the capital was overridden. The Empire's security web blinked, stuttered, and fell. Back in the hall, the holoscreens on the walls flickered. A new voice echoed. This is Admiral Liss of the Terran Strategic Concord. All orbital and digital infrastructure has been compromised. Do not resist. You're now under conditional counterbalance protocol. This is not an act of war. This is an act of reckoning. Gasps. Panic. Screeches of protest from lords and delegates. Thalvaron slammed his fist onto the dais. How dare you? You violate the sanctity of this chamber. You violated Titanus, Sarah replied, her tone still calm. Your sanctity died with the civilians you buried in glass. He lunged forward, but was stopped mid-motion by a blur of movement. Commander Juno Reyes was on him in a heartbeat. The bodyguard struck fast and surgical. Thalvaron's ornate weapon was disarmed, his body pinned in a lock so efficient it bordered on artwork. He crumpled to the ground with a choking hiss. The court froze. Juno looked to Sarah, awaiting orders. She nodded. Stand down. He's not worth the bruise. Then came the voice that hadn't spoken in over a century. A towering hologram materialized in the center of the hall, distorted, flickering, but unmistakable. Archon Vexler, the Emperor, half machine, half ancient flesh, kept alive by synthetic nerve webs and throne-bound cyberlink. His eyes locked onto Sarah. The court knelt instantly. Even Thalvaron crawled to one knee. All but Sarah. She stood. The Archon's voice was low and rattled, but clear. You bear the mark. I do. They said the sigilled were dead. Extinguished. They lied. A long pause. And yet, you are alone. We only need one. Another pause. The court dared not breathe. Then came something no one expected from the Archon. Laughter. Dry, crumbling, but unmistakable. The Empire has grown fat. Arrogant. You bring flame to a hall soaked in oil. Tell me, sigilled, what does Earth demand? Sarah's tone was now colder than space. Recognition. Sovereignty. Apology. Reparations. Optional. But it would look better. And if we refuse? Sarah turned her eyes toward the ceiling. At that moment, above the planet, 100,000 microsatellites bloomed open. Each held a harmless but disruptive algorithm. Together, they could blind every ship, disable every weapon, and make Aster Prime mute to the galaxy for decades. We don't bluff, she said. The court erupted in overlapping voices. Insane. How did they? This is coercion. It's justice, Sarah said. Long delayed. Thalvaron staggered to his feet again. You dare blackmail the Empire with trinkets and trauma. We should. You should shut up, Juno cut in. You've talked enough today. Sarah stepped forward. The Empire can continue. But not like this. You will dissolve your war councils. Dismantle forced vassalage systems. Recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign equals. And above all, never again touch what is ours. You demand we bow? Vexler asked. No, just back off. Another long silence. The Archon studied her as though peering through time. Very well. Gasps again. Even Thalvaron recoiled in disbelief. You are what they said you'd be, Vexler continued. You are the bearer, the one who survived the Titanus flame. The Empire will comply. And with that, the hologram vanished. Sarah turned to the court. You may now resume your session. But from this day forward, Earth is not your servant, not your subject, and not your shadow. The hall remained stunned as she walked past Thalvaron without another glance. Commander Reyes followed, silent as a wraith. Outside, under the rising twin moons, the wind carried the soft hum of a new transmission. Across the stars, word spread. The humans brought fire to the Empire's doorstep, and the Empire blinked. In the human diplomatic vessel, high above the planet, Sarah stood at a viewing port. The stars shimmered, no longer mocking. Reyes joined her, holding out a small metal case. Your next assignment's in here. Sol Rim border. New colony. And the Empire? Still licking the wound. But they'll think twice next time. Sarah rolled her sleeve back up, the tattoo now dark and dormant again. Let them think. Let them remember. She turned to the stars. One sigil was enough.